Welcome to the realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy listening. In the vast expanse of space, Joseph Gates, a human soldier, found himself captured by an alien species known as the Astral Empire. The Astrals, a technologically advanced and physically imposing race, viewed humanity as weak and subservient, a species meant to be conquered. Joseph had been taken prisoner following a failed assault on an astral outpost where his team had been overpowered and wiped out. When Joseph regained consciousness in a cold, dimly lit cell, pain racked his entire body. His muscles ached, his wrists were bound with sharp restraints that cut into his flesh, and every breath brought with it a fresh wave of agony. He had been mercilessly beaten and interrogated by astral guards, their towering forms and unyielding cruelty leaving no room for doubt about their intentions. Yet Joseph, with every fiber of his being, refused to break. Each question about human resistance was met with silence or defiance, which only invited more brutal treatment. One day, the routine of relentless interrogation was interrupted. The heavy door to Joseph's cell creaked open. But instead of the usual guards, a singular figure entered. She was unlike any of the astrals Joseph had seen before. Tall and imposing, her metallic blue skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her golden armor glinted with an aura of authority. This was Ella, the revered and feared queen of the Astral Empire. Ella's piercing gaze fell upon Joseph, studying him like a specimen. "So, this is the infamous human soldier who dares to defy us," she said, her voice smooth yet commanding. "Tell me, Joseph Gates, do you truly believe your stubbornness makes you a hero? Or is it simply the folly of a dying man's?" Joseph clenched his teeth, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a response. His silence only seemed to amuse her. "Your courage is admirable," she said, a hint of a smile curling her lips. "But courage alone is rarely enough to survive." Despite her icy demeanor, Ella found herself intrigued by Joseph. His unyielding spirit, his refusal to break under torture, it was unlike anything she had seen in her enemies. While others crumbled and begged, Joseph stood firm, defiant. She decided to take a different approach. Rather than leaving him to the whims of her sadistic generals, Ella ordered Joseph to be transferred to the palace under her personal supervision. Joseph was baffled by this sudden change in his circumstances. He was no longer confined to a filthy cell, but instead found himself in the gilded halls of the Astral Palace. It was a prison of a different kind, a golden cage where he remained a captive, though no longer subjected to physical torment. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was a pawn in a game he didn't yet understand. Ella visited him daily. At first, their interactions were tense. She probed him with questions about humanity, their culture, their weaknesses, but Joseph gave her little to work with. Her persistence, however, was matched only by his resilience. Over time, their conversations shifted. Ella stopped interrogating and started sharing. She spoke of the Astral Empire, of its conquests, its glory, and its burdens. Slowly, a fragile understanding began to form between them. One day, Ella escorted Joseph to the palace gardens. The air was rich with the scent of alien flora, and the sky above was painted with the soft hues of a setting sun. For the first time since his capture, Joseph felt a sliver of peace. "The astrals see humanity as inferior," Ella said, her voice soft but firm. "But I see potential. I see resilience. Perhaps I see hope." Joseph turned to her, his expression guarded. "Is that why I'm still alive? Because you see hopes in me?" Ella's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Perhaps, or perhaps I'm just curious." Days turned into weeks, and the tension between them evolved into something neither could deny. Joseph began to see past Ella's regal facade, recognizing the weight of the crown she bore. She was not the ruthless tyrant he had imagined, but a leader trapped by duty and expectations. Ella, in turn, saw in Joseph a raw determination and integrity that challenged everything she had been taught about humanity. Against all odds, a bond began to form, a bond that threatened to upend the delicate balance of the Astral Empire. But their growing closeness did not go unnoticed. Astral generals and guards grew suspicious, whispers of treachery spreading through the palace like wildfire. Ella knew she couldn't protect Joseph forever, not while her own people questioned her loyalty. In a desperate bid to buy them time, Ella orchestrated a ruse. She spread the false news that Joseph had been executed in a high-security astral prison. The announcement was met with grim satisfaction by the astrals and despair by human resistance forces. Meanwhile, Joseph was hidden in a secret wing of the palace, a labyrinthine network of chambers known only to Ella. There, they lived in secrecy, their forbidden connection deepening with each passing day. But Joseph struggled with the deception. The weight of the lie gnawed at him, his sense of honor clashing with his desire to remain by Ella's side. Rumors began to surface among the astral populace. Some claimed to have seen glimpses of Joseph. Others spoke of unexplained disturbances within the palace. The whispers grew louder, reaching the ears of the astral generals. The facade Ella had carefully constructed started to crumble. The breaking point came on a fateful night. A battalion of astral guards, led by the highest-ranking generals, stormed the palace. Their search led them to the hidden chambers, where Joseph and Ella were finally discovered. The revelation sent shockwaves through the astral empire. Their queen, the symbol of astral supremacy, had harbored a human, an enemy. Outrage erupted, and Ella was stripped of her crown, branded a traitor to her people. Despite the humiliation and loss of her title, Ella felt a strange sense of relief. She had chosen Joseph, and for her, that choice was worth any price. Together, they enacted a daring escape, commandeering an astral warship and fleeing the Empire. The escape was anything but simple. Astral warships were equipped with tracking systems that made it nearly impossible for rogue vessels to go unnoticed. Ella, with her intimate knowledge of astral technology, worked tirelessly to disable the ship's trackers and scramble its identification codes. Joseph, though unfamiliar with the advanced systems, assisted where he could, his military instincts keeping them alert to every potential threat. Pursuit was inevitable. Within hours, multiple astral ships were dispatched to track them down. Ella piloted the stolen warship through asteroid fields and uncharted regions of space, using her skills to outmaneuver their pursuers. Each encounter was a test of their resolve. As laser fire streaked past the ship's hull and warning sirens blared, the tension between survival and failure loomed over them. "There's no turning back now," Ella had said during one particularly close call. Her voice was calm, but Joseph could see the strain in her expression. "If they catch us, they'll make an example of us both. We won't let that happen," Joseph had replied firmly, his determination as unyielding as hers. Hours turned into days as they pushed the ship's engines to their limits, moving farther away from astral-controlled space. The journey was grueling. Supplies were limited, and the constant threat of detection left little room for rest. Even so, there were moments of quiet in the chaos, moments where they found comfort in each other's presence, their shared resilience, a beacon of hope amidst the vastness of space. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pursuit began to wane. The Astral Empire, believing the ship had ventured into untraceable territories, gradually ceased their efforts. Ella and Joseph, exhausted but alive, set a course for Earth. It was a journey fraught with uncertainty. Ella had never set foot on the planet, and Joseph knew they would face challenges integrating her into human society. Yet, for the first time in weeks, they allowed themselves to breathe. As they approached Earth's atmosphere, the sight of the blue and green planet filled the ship's view screen. For Ella, it was a striking contrast to the cold, metallic hues of astral cities. For Joseph, it was a bittersweet reminder of the world he had left behind and the sacrifices he had made to return. They landed in a remote region, far from prying eyes. The warship, now stripped of its astral insignias, was hidden in a dense forest, a precaution against potential discovery. Ella and Joseph stepped onto Earth's soil together, their journey finally bringing them to a place where they could start anew. The forest was vast and untouched, its thick canopy shielding them from any overhead surveillance. The air was rich with the scent of earth and foliage, a stark contrast to the sterile, metallic environment Ella had always known. She paused, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. The sounds of rustling leaves and distant bird calls were alien to her, but oddly soothing. For Joseph, it was a reminder of the peace he had longed for during his years of service, a peace he was determined to protect. They moved quickly, gathering what they could from the warship before camouflaging it beneath layers of branches and debris. The dense trees would hide it from casual observation, but the risk of discovery always loomed. They knew they couldn't stay near it for long. Joseph led Ella deeper into the forest, his survival instincts guiding them to a secluded spot near a freshwater stream. Setting up a temporary shelter was their first priority. Using supplies salvaged from the ship and materials gathered from the forest, they constructed a makeshift dwelling. It was rudimentary at best, but it provided protection from the elements. Ella, unfamiliar with the manual labor required, watched Joseph closely, learning as he worked. Though her hands were unaccustomed to such tasks, she insisted on helping, her determination matching his. As days turned into weeks, they adapted to their new environment. Joseph taught Ella how to navigate the forest, identify edible plants, and use basic tools. In turn, Ella shared her knowledge of astral technology, repurposing components from the warship to create useful devices. A small power generator provided light and limited heating for their shelter, while a modified communication device allowed them to monitor any incoming signals. Despite their resourcefulness, life was far from easy. Food was scarce, and every noise in the forest brought a wave of unease. The fear of being discovered was a constant shadow over their newfound freedom. Yet, amidst the challenges, they found moments of solace. Sitting by the stream at night under the canopy of stars, they spoke of their pasts, their fears, and their hopes for the future. For Ella, it was a chance to understand humanity beyond the lens of war and politics. For Joseph, it was an opportunity to see the universe through her eyes. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, but the weight of their actions never fully left them. Ella often thought of her people, wondering how they had reacted to her disappearance. Joseph, too, carried the burden of guilt, knowing the risks he had taken in bringing her to Earth. They both understood that their decision to be together had consequences far beyond themselves. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Joseph broke the silence. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked, his voice low. Leaving everything behind, Ella's gaze remained fixed on the flames. "Regret is a luxury I can't afford," she said softly. "I made my choice, and I'll stand by it." Her words resonated deeply with Joseph. He knew the road they had chosen was fraught with uncertainty, but in that moment he felt a sense of resolve. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their peace was short-lived. As the weeks turned into months, subtle signs of disturbance began to appear. Low-flying aircraft occasionally passed over the forest, and the distant hum of engines became an increasingly common sound. It was clear that someone was searching, though whether it was astral forces or human authorities, they couldn't be certain. Ella and Joseph knew they couldn't remain hidden forever. The forest, once a sanctuary, was becoming a trap. They began planning their next move, salvaging what they could from the warship and preparing for the possibility of leaving. Their survival depended on staying one step ahead of their pursuers. Even as they packed their belongings and dismantled parts of their shelter, they took one last moment to stand by the stream. The water reflected the stars above, reminder of the journey that had brought them here. Though the path forward was uncertain, they knew they would face it together. And so, under the watchful gaze of the cosmos, Ella and Joseph began their next chapter, carrying with them the resilience and hope that had defined their bond from the very beginning.